Okay.
Let's try this again. Hi, Darlene. How are you today?
I'm great.
Good.
So this is a test of the Chiron Therapeutics channel. We're going to be uploading this to YouTube. So we're just trying this out for now. I'm Darlene Nixon, certified homeopath and ordained healer of ministry, named Healing Minister from the Universal Light Church. And this is Genevieve Sylvester. Give everybody your credentials.
Hi, RDMS, registered medical diagnostic medical sonographer, 25 years, and a mom. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Genevieve is a childhood friend.
Yep.
We went to public school from first grade to high school. Yeah. We were in band together.
Yes, we were.
And Girl Scouts.
Yes.
And because of my personal history of trauma and abuse, we lost track of each other because I've always been running away from home. And I've been in Colorado for about 29 years. So that's where I learned how to be a homeopath.
Mm-hmm.
That's whole homeopathy at the Homeopathy School International in Boulder with Barbara Seidenek, who's the owner of that school. And when I was just completing my classical practitioner certification in my 4th year at that school, I finally crossed paths with Genevieve.
I was in Colorado. I just moved out there to Southwest Colorado, Wango, Hayfield area.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Darlene! Oh my gosh, how are you?
So we found that we had some kind of parallels in our lives, other than just being raised up in the same town in Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. That, you know, we both had a bad marriage early in our lives. Genevieve, although she was able to have a baby, part of my reason for wanting a baby when my biological clock was ticking was because my brother, who was for all intents and purposes a soul twin, had died, and his dying wish was to have his bodily remains burnt and thrown into the river that runs through my garden. So that was the only way for me to interpret what his dying wish was. After several attempts to have a child with different people, even in artificial insemination, and I was on the verge of doing in vitro fertilization, but when I realized all the costs that would be involved and that I wouldn't even be related to my own child, I just said, this is stupid, let me do something else. Whereas Genevieve,
beautiful, beautiful daughter. She is going to be 30 this year. I raised her pretty much by myself. Her father was involved the first few years. We divorced, but she is an amazing young lady. I just love her to death. Her terrible twos hit at 17, and I just looked at her, and that was the end of that. No, she's great. She's absolutely a wonderful young woman.
So part of my maturation process, and I call it the Saturn return. I'm an astrologer. My heritage includes people that are referred to as gypsies, also people that are referred to as Amazons, and the Magi, like the people that the word magic comes from.
She is magical.
Yeah.
Sneaks up on you.
So my maturation process is peeling off the layers of the empirical conqueror genome, my ancestry, peeling that off and uncovering the magical people in my heritage, and coming into my own as a postmenopausal woman who now retains her wise blood instead of bleeding it out all the time. it always bothered me every time, you know, after I found out that I couldn't bear a child. I could conceive, but I couldn't bear because of a genetic blood disorder that shows up in the male relatives as blood clots and peripheral cardiovascular disease. But in the females, it causes the endometrial lining. Now it doesn't. What it does is it when the fertilized egg attaches to the lining, it sends a signal to hemorrhage and clots.
Correct.
So the umbilical cord forms clots, and it kills the baby that way. I mean, very maniacal, weird. How did that kind of a defect get passed on? Because how do you survive long enough to reproduce if you can't reproduce? You know, the genetics. So this is something that Jenny and I have discovered, that, you know, I had to study all this stuff in order to be a homeopath, but she had to study all this stuff in order to be a dental assistant and a sonographer, right?
Yes, I was a dental assistant in my
Yeah. So we're experiencing some sort of convergence at the last third of our lives.
Yes, and it's amazing that every time something like I think is significant, and I can't explain, Darlene. And it's like, oh, it's blah blah blah, and you oh my Lord, yes, and it's freaky. It's magical. I'm telling you.
Right.
She knows her shit. Oh, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Okay. She knows her shit.
And the reason that I know my shit is because of a little rubric that I found on this shift happens, is that, like the Maslow hierarchy of needs, everybody comes from the same baseline where they understand that they've got some shit to deal with, but they can't identify it. They don't know what it is. It just hamstrings them whenever they try to do something that they think is good for them.
Yes, it sure does.
Right. And then once you get tired of that, you move into the next one where you say, oh, maybe I've got some shit to deal with.
Oh, she does that. And then she nails it, you know, she hits the nail on the head, and I say to her, shut up, Darlene. And then she laughs, and I'm like, oh, crap. And then it's like, right here. And she's right. She's right.
Then you move up in the hierarchy of needs, so to speak, and then you say, I see my shit in other people.
Yes. I don't like that shit.
Right. So then you do a little bit of reflection, and you try to own your shit.
Shut up, Darlene.
I mean, and part of that is, what is this shit?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. So,
What is this shit?
you know, and I have to say, menopause, for the women who are out there that haven't gone through it yet, you're going to be so flippin' liberated. But some of the liberations you got to watch out for. One of them is you lose all sense of filter when you speak. It's amazing. And early on, you're right. Everyone else is wrong. That's just the way it is. Deal with it. Yeah, well, it took me a while to get over that one. Okay, Darlene. It also has to do with the energy that you put out, which explains a lot of shit that happens. Not that it's negative. It's hidden. She explains it better. It goes below the radar. And my daughter, I was talking to her the other night, and I was saying, hey, Darlene, finally, said bloom, bloom, bloom. And again, he hit the nail on the head. Shut up, Darlene. And I have work to do, and I do. Everyone has work. But she's like, Ma, she ain't kidding. Because sometimes you walk in a room and we know. And without even a blink of an eye,
It's
I'm
a,
like,
it's a
oh.
feeling.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about is you peel the layers of shit off of your third eye, basically.
Which I'm trying to do.
Right. We were born with the ability to see things that other people don't see. And generally, it gets shut down as soon as your adult and everybody in the matrix, so to speak, sees that you're seeing things, you know, like the imaginary child,
Yes.
friend in the childhood.
When you're little, kids are so sensitive to that.
Yeah.
You know, and I had experiences as a child before I had epilepsy. I had grand mal seizures. I had a total of 4, and they were doozies. The first one literally died, and it had that out-of-body experience, but I just looked down at what was going on, and I was fine. But anyways, I always had deja vu prior to having a seizure. And before I actually had my first seizure, I could bring it on myself the first time it happened. I went, oh, that's cool. I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9. And all it is like, hi, Darlene, how are you? Absolutely fantastic. She'd say, great. I turn around, and all of a sudden that whole scenario would rewind, and it would be, hi, Darlene, how are you? I'm fine. And yes, it was like it was in my world called a cine loop. That's what we call it in ultrasound. But yeah, it was like a 3, 4, 5-second movie clip, and then I could replay it anywhere, anytime. And so, yeah, I know you guys are saying that's weird. Yeah, until you experience things,
Right.
you don't understand. So don't fear.
Right. So because of the, in my example is.
Can I also add something to that? Because of that, I also one time saw something and told my mother, and she understood totally. And then she said, don't tell your father. He won't understand. You know, so it was like shut down. And sometimes I thank her for that, though, because I think I would have had too many things coming at me and I didn't know how to handle it. So anyways, yeah. So, Dad, if you see this is what happened. Mom had my
That's
back.
a little bit of the boldness that you get when you pass menopause. Right?
Yes.
Like,
and my mother was the protector.
Yeah.
Oh.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, in a sense, what we've understood through this convergence is that there are things that our biology cannot explain. Okay. You know, you mentioned that little thing with the brain. You didn't know about that, and your parents didn't know about that, and even your doctors didn't know about that when you were experiencing it. And that's the other issue that has also affected both of us, is the oppression of the hierarchy that shows up as government, as medicine, as the economy, that sort of thing. And part of the reason that we're converging right now is my understanding of what's happening astrologically is that women who have always been at the center of the supplying humanity with the food and medicine and housing and all of that throughout the centuries are going to come into their own. They're going to, the patriarchy is falling. It's just falling down all around us. Yeah. And it's the people who have been persevering and loving and nurturing, regardless of who has victimized them, who has oppressed them, and just powering on.
And this is not Hillary Clinton either.
No. Any structure that you see that is run by women, but they're doing it in a male style, a hierarchical style, that's still patriarchy. We're talking about the side-by-side concentric circles kinds of power with. It's not powerless, it's power with. Okay? So when we help our sisters and we help our sisters' children, or vice versa, all that sort of thing, we're supporting the powerhouse of women's power. That's what we're doing. And we don't expect recognition as a reward for it. Our reward is that we are, and this is an evolutionary thing, we recognize our relatedness in that if our sister is continuing her survival and prospering, we're prospering. That's called empathy. And that's a special thing that a lot of women have naturally. Men have it too, but it's been more suppressed for them because that's the nature of patriarchy. Yeah. So right now, you know, this is kind of an introduction of what we would like to continue, Jenny and I, and maybe we'll do this remotely in the future, is to talk about our common experiences as women, especially middle-aged women, and the lessons that we learned and how we can pass them on to our sisters who are younger, who are dealing with these issues and are totally in the dark because it's been darkened. You know, this is the dark ages, honey. This is the dark ages. They never ended. Just because they were actually burning books during the dark ages as a demonstration of controlling knowledge, and they were burning witches, they were burning the wise women and the books during the dark ages, they just do it differently now. Okay? That has never stopped. Right, that's a way of controlling nature. So, women are natural. This system that we live in, the civilization that we live in, is unnatural. Okay, so every chance we get to return to our roots, to return to our basic natures, gets short-circuited by the hierarchy. Okay, so at this time, I want to talk about long-term weight loss and how to tame your taste buds, because I had an influence on Jenny, what, 7 years ago?
Oh, 5 or 6. And you remember that I told you, shut up, Darlene. And then it goes right here? It did. But the problem was at the time I was so hopped up on Diet Pepsi and working maniac hours. I still do, but not the call that was involved. And so you grab the easiest thing, which is usually junk food and fried. And it just, and I had tried to come off of that crap many times. It's like friggin' heroin. The headaches, the moods, it was horrible. And then I met a woman online, Lorraine, and she sold a product called, I'm not selling anything, but this product was called Advocare. And it saved my life, because then it opened me up enough to say, okay, Darlene said this. I must keep going. So I started I quit cold turkey Diet Pepsi, but I had this mineral replacement by this Advocare product, which was wonderful. And I started doing a cleanse with them. And I was losing inches and pounds, and it was like, thank God. Okay, now after I got leveled out and I start looking at the ingredients, I'm like, oh, there's still sugar in this one product. Out it goes. And then I've been surgically altered. I don't say that much to people. And that's bariatric weight loss. And it didn't work for me because I had emotional issues I didn't realize still had. And I would use food sometimes when there was a situation, it was like my fuel for the fight. And I didn't need that, turned out. Okay. So I gained most of the weight back, and it was horrible. And so I got to that place, and I'm like, okay, now I need to continue this on. And I found the keto diet I was always interested in. But because I'm surgically altered, it was too much fat versus protein. But then there's the bariatric keto. So I started with them. They are, oh my gosh. Bone broth, which Darlene showed me, is so nutritious. And that's basically, I did a fast. And on day 3, I just had bone broth and tea. But the first day I didn't have anything. Second, and it was fine. I didn't suffer. I wasn't having headaches. I wasn't doing anything. Day 2, we had bone broth. And day 3, I listened to my body. I need some kind of substance other than bone broth. So then I brought in the healthy foods, the healthy cheese, proteins for me, cheese and cod, fish, and so in 2 weeks, I lost almost 12 pounds.
Wow, that's insane.
But it was a healthy weight loss.
Yeah.
It was, I've never felt deprived, and it's intermittent fasting. It's it's mindful eating. And it doesn't just apply to me, it applies to everybody. And if we don't fill our bodies, I've been preaching this for years, but never, talking the talk, but never walking the walk. I'm too deep in it, I can't get out. I got out. And I wake up on my own clock. I'm always up before my alarm. I don't want to be because I love my sleep, but I am. And my body tells me when I need to go to sleep. And a few things that are essential, I take a lot of supplements, but they're proper supplements. They're vitamins and minerals and things that we need, magnesium, calcium, you name it, it's there. Vitamin D is essential. Oh my God. And magnesium. And there's a whole slew. Darlene knows them more than I do. I just look at them and go, okay, Darlene said. Or
Now,
but
this is why I call my practice Chiron Therapeutics, because I'm the wounded healer. All right. What we've been comparing notes on in the last 3 or 4 days, Jenny and I, is our common wounds, but apparently I haven't met a person yet who has the kind of emotional, psychological wounds that I have. And it's been shocking to Jenny to hear that so many things were going on in my childhood that she was not aware of.
and I knew she had told me some before. I mean, like a few years back. But now as she's peeling her onion,
Yeah, it's just
damn.
too deep. And to be honest, I can't say that right now I'm working on a healing modality. It's called the victim, perpetrator, rescuer triangle. Okay, so I'm a victim of incest and sexual abuse, and I try to find a rescuer to help me. They end up being a victim, So, all right, so I'm a victim. I become a perpetrator because that's all I know. That's all I know is to
And that's sexual perpetrator. Make that clear. She doesn't sexually victimize her like she was victimized.
Well,
you don't. Yeah.
what I mean is that I'm
clarify that.
perpetuating. It's not just sexual abuse. It was much more than that. Like, for instance, my oldest brother was the perpetrator, and he used to beat us. He used to antagonize us, me and my other brother Mike. He used to antagonize us because he was left alone with us as the babysitter, even though he was only a couple of years older than me, right? He's not supposed to be responsible for his siblings at 7 years old. What kind of sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Do you see? So it's generational. My parents weren't raised right, and all that kind of stuff. So what would he do? He would antagonize us so that we would take a swing at him, and then he would pulverize us. Okay? Using that as an excuse that we are the ones that did we threw the first punch. So that gets internalized so that I antagonize other people so they'll take a swing at me and then I can hate them truly, right? So I get involved into abusive relationships because that's the devil that I know. And they always hit me, but I'm the one that antagonized them to even want to do the first punch. Poking the bear. You see what I mean? This is the victim, perpetrator, rescuer, right? And I think that I'm going to help somebody who I find in my situation, and then I end up becoming the victim. So it just goes around. Victim, perpetrator, rescuer, circle. Okay? Or triangle. So how do you break that? How do you jump out of that and stop being a victim and eating your pain?
We call them elephant ears always.
Because I want to draw this back into, so So for me, being sidelined all the time in relationships, in occupations that I've chosen, my subconscious mind has pushed me into these situations that force me to say, this isn't serving me anymore. How do I make it different? Okay. When I was a child, I was so despairing of my life that I knew beyond Christianity and all that kind of thing, that I felt like I was in the bus station in a foreign city. I had bought a ticket for one destination and I ended up somewhere else. My soul, is like, wait a minute, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. How did I get here? Where I've got both parents and older brother abusing me. How did this happen? In Detroit, where the riots were happening, and just in the midst of the focus of what I call the beginning of empire collapse, right? So even as a child, I knew that my soul chose to be in that situation because I needed to learn something. But as a child, I had just this emotional, right? And it took till I was maybe 45 or 48 years old for me to just be able to say, okay, these are all supposed to be lessons. I've been learning them incompletely, and now I'm going to go full throttle, and I'm going to go for the gusto, no matter what it takes. If it kills me, I don't care, because I've already dealt with the idea of dying.
Yeah.
So that's why I call it wounded healer. I'm the one that has the worst wounds that you can imagine, and I learned how to heal them. So having those anecdotal things to compare notes with someone like Jenny, who's now you're moving into your own because your daughter is how old?
She'll be 30.
She's been investing all of her energy in protecting her daughter and raising her daughter on her own. And now she's raising her own self.
Yes. And it's not selfish.
No,
you have to heal. And yeah, and one of them is you are what you eat. I remember seeing that in junior high when you go to the cafeteria, you are what you eat, and they give us this ridiculous food pyramid that's full of shit, just letting you know that right there. And I think one of the, I don't know, maybe it's predisposition, but I was overweight all my life, pretty much. 5 pounds, if it was 5 pounds or 105 pounds, didn't matter. But I think I've got a very healthy heart, a very healthy vascular system. It's unbelievable. And I actually, back in the day when we grew up, we had the vegetable car came out. Remember the vegetable truck that come down the street? And my mom would go out, all the moms go out and buy their fresh vegetables and fruits. And I never liked cooked vegetables. I don't know if you know this. I eat all my vegetables raw growing up. And I don't have any problems with kidney stones like my brothers do. I inherited my mother's side, and she is not going anywhere anytime soon. Her aunt just turned 99 this past month. And I attribute a lot of that to I wouldn't eat my vegetables cooked except for carrots. Occasionally, I like carrots and green beans too, but I'd just as soon eat them raw. My mom said, okay, there they are.
nice.
But I'm a meat and potato kind of gal. Oh my God, with gravy. But
When it comes to
vegetables, always raw. And salad, never liked salad dressing. Never had salad dressing. Don't put oil on it. Don't put anything on it. I would just eat my salad without any. Yeah. So I think that
do you think you have genetics that make your heart healthy, or that you've enhanced them?
I think I've enhanced them because my dad doesn't have. My dad has. I think he's got a blood disorder, very rare blood disorder that's caused his. They found out that caused his heart issues primarily, and his stroke issues, and polycythemia vera. And basically, to make it so you understand what that is, it's like having a tiny hole, and you're going to crack an egg, and one yolk, it goes through it. But now, and that's a red blood cell, that represents a red blood cell. Well, now, every so often, 2 get there and it's stuck. So what happens when blood can't move through a small structure, it becomes necrotic, or it acts out before it becomes necrotic.
It doesn't form a clot? No.
No, it kills the tissue because there can't be any oxygen exchange at that cellular level. You know, so I think I enhanced it by doing that. Meanwhile, my mom's side, he's the French, Canadian, and a little bit of American Indian, you know, that we all probably have. And my mother's Polish, and we think Russian as well. So she's got that European, you know, Eastern European diet that she was fed and raised in.
Okay.
And yeah, another thing, I love raw red meat. And I didn't say rare, I said raw. Raw, and I will eat it rare.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer raw. It's got to be good. It's got to be none of this chemical crap.
Absolutely.
It's got to be clean, and there is a difference. And I was so excited. You know how you buy a chicken at Meijer's, or, you know, and you put on the rotisserie and you go, oh yeah, that's yummy. Yeah. Well, it tastes like tasteless chicken. Oh, I was in Colorado, and they have, you know, you get much more healthier food in Colorado. I'm telling you now, you have no idea. And it's truly not that more expensive if you look in the right place. It's called Redbird, and they had them on sale. So I bought a couple chickens, put it on, and oh my God, they tasted like when I was a kid.
Yeah, real
They were
food.
real, because they were roaming around eating bugs and grass and seeds, not like corn that we shell out. And another thing too, I used to go to James Ranch. Okay, this is going to be a plug. James Ranch, Franklin, Colorado. You just go in, and they had all the meat there, all the beef and pork and everything. And it's a little bit more costly, but when you don't need that much meat, you just need a lot of everything that's healthier. Like this beautiful salad Darlene's got sitting in front of her. Oh my God, that's your breakfast.
3D. Ooh.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, it's driving me nuts because the smell is friggin' awesome.
Well, let's eat it.
Okay, well, I'm going to use my fingers to for.
Okay.
And I'm not really much of a morning person to eat. I'm not a breakfast. And Darlene has a theory on this. You eat like a king in the morning. I'm going to eat lunch now. A prince at noon or midday, whenever it's suitable for you, and a popper at night.
Mm-hmm.
My schedule's different. I'm like a popper in the morning, king in the afternoon, midday, and a prince at night. I'm not. I never have been big on mornings, but I do drink vitamins and shit ton of water. Water, I'm telling you, I told people this like 5 or 6, no longer than that, like 6, 7 years ago. I started something where I just stopped drinking anything else. It didn't last long because of my head, and I was addicted. Diet Pepsi. Water is a miracle drug. It really is. If you drink enough, your aches and pains, your minor aches and pains, they'll dissipate, you know?
It's flush your tissues.
You have to, yes, flush your tissues.
And drinking carbonated sugared beverages
It destroys
is
your bones.
adding to your toxic load.
Big time.
It's not hydrating you. It's not flushing your tissues.
That's the cheese.
Yeah, knock yourself out.
Oh,
And
damn,
this
that's
cheese
good.
I got is from Costco. It's sheep cheese, and it's organic, and it comes from Greece. So I have confidence that they're not feeding their sheep weird things in order to get them to produce more milk and all that kind of thing. And essentially, the idea behind eating like a king in the morning is that you've been fasting all night.
Mhm.
Now, what's important is that you're fasting all night. The reason that you want to fast all night and not get up and go into the refrigerator and get something to eat, or whatever that is, or eating just before going to bed, is because your body energetically needs to detox. That's why you fall asleep. It's ACH, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get your energy from the food you eat necessarily. You get it from ATP, right?
Guess so.
Yeah. So
What's ATP stand for?
adenotriphosphate, something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Adenoline.
So when that little molecule bursts, that's the energy you're getting. And that little molecule gets burst in your mitochondria in every cell that you have.
Mitochondria, it's the powerhouse cell of the.
That's the organelle inside your cells.
It's the powerhouse inside the cell.
Right.
Very important to keep that healthy.
we're taught that everything about energy, it goes on in our stomachs and our colon, but that's not what happens. Your liver is hugely implicated in your energy stores. A lot of people don't understand that the liver is the hardest working organ next to your heart, right? It's got too many things to do. And if you hamstring it by drinking Diet Pepsi or eating stuff that has toxins in it, anything that doesn't have DNA that goes into your stomach gets to your liver first.
Mm-hmm.
And if the liver doesn't see any DNA in it, it will treat it as a poison. Everybody thinks about alcohol and bad livers.
Mm-mm.
Alcohol is a poison. Believe me, it's a poison. You can deal with it a little bit in your fermented foods, but not as distilled. No way. It has no more DNA left in it, and therefore your liver treats it as a toxin. But what else does it treat as a toxin? Anything that doesn't have DNA in it. Yes.
Doesn't know what to do with it, so you know what happens? It's in the liver. And your liver can only take so much. And I didn't tell you right now, I have a family member. I just found out. He has a cirrhotic liver, non-alcohol induced cirrhosis. That didn't include, they found a mass, because that's what happens. The toxicity of your liver after all this crap is stored becomes cancerous. And they found a tumor. Thank goodness they found the tumor when they did, because they're able to surgically remove it, which is going to be happening shortly. But what is his life worth after that? You know, maybe you'll get be on the donors list later on. Maybe not, but at least, you know, alcohol's the biggest cause, the largest cause, because it's prevalent.
Liver not only recognizes toxins and does its best to get rid of it. When it gets overloaded, it just forms these little fatty tumors, basically. That's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, okay? But number one thing that the liver is doing is storing a 12-hour supply of energy for you. When you decide to go for a run, it's your liver that you're getting that energy from, not the fat on your body. I mean, that's a secondary source. But if your liver's not healthy, it can't store as much of that energy for you. It's storing all this toxin instead. Okay, so when we are talking about taming your taste buds and breaking your habits and all that kind of thing, you have to understand that it's not just in your head where wisdom and knowledge is stored. It's stored in every cell in your body. But we have specialized cells. So your liver is smart, and when you poison it to the point where it's starting to fail, it becomes dumb.
The first stage of liver disease is fatty liver, and it's the only stage that's curable. You can reversible, I should say. Reversible, because you can clean that crap right on up.
Yep.
Next stage, you can stop it. So
stop the advance.
Yes, stop the advance.
Right.
By proper nutrition, what you put in your body, and mindful eating is nothing more than listening to. You know, when you eat, you have to sit down and you have to take your time to eat it. It's a process. But your taste buds literally change. You know, I love red meat, just saying that. My favorite ever. Be it bison, be it cow. Oh, yeah. Anyways, that being said, I hadn't had red meat for 2 weeks. I was so excited when I could have my first red meat. So at lunch, I had, 3 ounces of it. I was so happy. It sat okay. At dinner time, now I get to have another piece of red meat, but not as, just the red meat. I took 2 bites. I couldn't finish it. Not because I was full. It was like, it was too rich. I didn't need that. And that's listening. Otherwise, I would have just plowed through it any other time. Oh, another thing, drink. We're the only mammal that walks the face of the earth, I swear to God, that, except for a dog, because we put the bowl right there, is we drink when we're eating. Oh, my God, you're just washing your nutrients right out down the river. Boom. It's,
and diluting your acid in the stomach.
Absolutely. So regardless what you drink, it, you know, during the day, or even milk. And that's another thing that really gets me, is we're the only mammals that continue to drink milk in excessive amounts after we're weaned. We don't need it. I'll enjoy your coffee every now and then, or make some cream. You know, I'm not saying don't, you know, ignore it, but think about it. Really, and the milk, it's got to be organic, and it's got to be grass-fed. It's so important, because if it's not grass-fed, if it's not out on someone's lawn eating, it's eating a chemically based, mass-produced shit that they put in front of them. It's just not good. Anyway,
Well, there is something to be said
okay.
about eating animal protein that works for its dinner.
Oh,
Instead
I
of
never thought
having
of
the
it like
food
that.
brought to them,
They gotta
they
work.
go and get it. And they're walking and they're grazing and they're moving.
They're not. That's true. They're not like at a gate and they're all, you know.
You think
It's
about
a healthier. It's a healthier animal.
And also, if we work for our food, like make
need a
it
cucumber.
an Olympic event or something, that you're expending energy getting the food. What we do is we expend energy in our occupations to get our food. We trade it for money, and then we pay the farmer or whomever, or Kmart or Kruskies or whoever, to bring our food to us. Okay? So what happens is we're getting stressed out trading our time and our skill for money, and then we're trading that money for the food that we're told we're supposed to eat, whether it's McDonald's or if it's Red Lobster or whatever, right? Energetically, what that's doing to us is making us sedentary, and just like the cow has to walk and graze in order to get the nutrition that it needs. It doesn't need corn. It doesn't need soy. It doesn't need what is that, mad cow? They were
Mad
even
cow
giving cows their own
Brain
relatives flesh to eat. And so a dumb cow that's being forced, they put their heads into a grate and stick their heads in there, and it's, you know,
Forcing them.
right. So an animal that's behaving naturally and having sex naturally is where we need to move in our protein needs, okay? And as well ourselves, to prep our body for being active is why I say you eat like a king in the morning, right? You're prepping your body to do the daily activities that you do on a muscular and a mental level, as well as an emotional level, by fueling up. And that stimulates your, not homeostasis, your, what is it that stimulates your, yeah, I know. But you know what I mean? It stimulates your body's use of the energy, because you're awake now and you're active. So being awake and active, even if it means putting a treadmill underneath your desk, if you got a desk job, something so that you're getting the blood going. So you're getting the blood going in the morning by starting your digestion, right? Right. So in that way, you're not starving to death at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is what I used to do. I just didn't have an appetite.
Me too.
Right? But when 11 o'clock comes around, bam, I want to eat a whole cow, right? So this is what I'm saying. If you're eating healthy animals, be a healthy animal. You got to use all the nutrition that is available to you as from a healthy animal by being a healthy animal. So activity, it's a muscular activity that you need to have the caloric need. But you also expend calories when you have stress. Okay?
Really? Then I
It
must
does
not have
take
much stress if I don't.
No, it's a brain. Your brain uses 20% of your oxygen, uses 20% of your calories. Your brain is mostly water and fat. and it needs, so your brain, in order to function correctly, has to have fuel.
Brain fog.
Right. So when you crash around 11 and
Yeah.
you have this huge caloric need, then you overeat to compensate for how you underate.
And most people go to the candy machine to get some sugar.
Yep.
To do the spike.
Right.
And I find that the more better I eat, the healthier I eat, the more fresh I eat, more clean I eat. I'm like this, nice and steady.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I come home, I have energy. Boom.
Yeah. And, you know, typically when I'm about going to grade school, whatever it was that my parents were feeding us, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch, and
Yeah.
we used to have a milk machine. Remember
did?
that? It was a vending machine, and you got these little tiny cartons of milk.
Oh yes,
For a
at
nickel?
Loveman.
At Loveman, yeah.
But I didn't have. I only lived a block from my school, so I got to go home for
Go home
lunch.
to lunch.
I had really nice lunches. Like we had leftovers. And we had, fried bologna sandwiches. Talk about crap. But it was good crap back then. I don't know.
Well,
The government
kids
was
like
telling
me,
us.
yeah, we were getting government cheese, we were getting the hostess, ho-hos, and the ding-dongs, and the cupcakes, and all that as a part of the healthy lunch for our kids. Yeah.
Okay, so when Camille was in kindergarten, I was in an ultrasound school down in the area, living with my aunt, kind of wonderful. Anyways, I put her in a Catholic school because I thought that was best. Anyways, you had to do your cure as a parent, and so I would occasionally go and be the lunchroom monitor with them. It was a small cafeteria, St. Mary's in downtown Royal Oak, and the kids, when they saw me, they hated me on lunch duty because there weren't many children, they weren't allowed to eat the chips and Doritos and crap that were put in. They want to eat that first, and they had no room for the meal the mother packed. So no, I would nope, put it, and they got to eat it after they ate the healthy stuff. Yeah, they didn't like me. They saw me coming in, oh man, Camille's mom's here. Hide your ding dongs. It was. So anyways, that's a side note. So
Being emotionally and physically abused, I would go to school and tell the lunch lady that I didn't have my lunch. So she would go to all the kids and get donations for me. Invariably, it was the cupcakes and the ho-hos and all that stuff, instead of, at least some meat in my sandwich, some protein. All I had was sugar for lunch.
See, and I used to send Camille to school in grade school with extra sandwiches and extra fruit. I was broke. I didn't have a pot to piss in, but you know what? My daughter had a pot to piss in, and I try to help the children who were much less fortunate than she was. So yeah, it's important to have that nutrition.
A Sicilian, the basic Sicilian diet is a meat, a bread, and a salad. That's it. That's what you get. The bread could be a spaghetti. The meat would be the meatballs, or it could be, especially in Sicily, it's mostly seafood of some sort. But, in Detroit in the 60s, seafood, that was most expensive. But hamburger, so that formula works for people that live on an island in the Mediterranean, but people that live in the heartland, maybe not. But we always had a salad, even if it was just lettuce with tomato, vinegar, oil, and salt and pepper. So that was a little bit of saving grace to at least have fresh lettuce at night. But what I was trying to explain is that by me eating all this sugar for lunch, by the time I got out of school, I was starving, because you got that insulin spike and then the crash. You get the spike of insulin to put that sugar somewhere, because your body just can't deal with pure sugar. It wasn't made to deal with pure sugar. Pure sugar is a poison. period. Whatever form it is in, even if it's honey, fruit juice. Oh my God, your body doesn't know what to do with that.
Oh my God.
All right, so it's going to cause an insulin spike, and then you're going to crash, and then you're going to overeat because you've got such a demand. Your cells are saying, hey, you know, we don't have any energy left. No. Forget about vitamin C. If you want vitamin C, eat broccoli.
There you go.
It has like 3 times the amount of vitamin C that even oranges do, right? So I want to reel this in so that we can talk about sustaining a healthy weight. You know, because Jenny has been explaining how her taste buds changed once she made the decision that she was not only going to lose the weight that she put on from basically stress, but also maintain a healthy diet so that she doesn't do the yo-yoing anymore. All right. So tell me what your strategies have been.
Well, like I said, the last 2 weeks I was detoxing. I'm done now. And it's just about I found sources. First, you've got to find your source. Where's your food source going to come from? So I have a bison. I found a really nice health food store, and I go there and get all my meat and my salmon. I get my bison and my salmon there. And then that's in Rapid City. I'm currently in South Dakota on assignment. I travel for my job. And I'll go to Pier for my grass-fed meat and my wild cod, which I lived on. And so basically, it's just like Darlene said, the king, the prince, and the pauper, whatever works for I think we're on different cycle, you know, like brain cycles and how we live. And I was always a night owl, not anymore. I'm one of the old folks now. Remember, like grandma gets up at 6. Why? Sleep. I'm up at 6 in the morning. But I'm just incorporate a lot more vegetables, raw again, and it's keto. So keto's diet is you need fat. You need healthy fat in your system. You know, healthy, and a lot of it. It's like the reverse of the food pyramid they did. So it's fat, protein, and then carbohydrates, and they're very, very minimal. And then it's net carb. So how do you figure out a net carb is look at your total carb and look at the dietary fiber and then subtract those numbers, and that's your net carb. So if you've got 10 carbs, but you've got 5 net carb, you've got 5 grams net carb. Okay. Dietary fiber, then you got net carb. Anyways, and
that's important. Fiber is a carbohydrate.
Yes.
And there's 2 different kinds. There's soluble and non-soluble, right?
And we want the soluble.
The soluble fiber helps slow down the sugar release you can get a sugar release even from protein.
Yes. The denser the protein, isn't it? That's what I thought. Hence, I got sick or felt ill because it was too rich. The beef. I'll tell you what, I could eat cod for the rest of my life. It wouldn't matter. But you become very mindful. Here we go, mindful eating. What's on that label? You know, and because I've been surgically altered, my primary concern is not the fat, it's the protein, but the type of protein. And then your fat, and then the minimal carbohydrates. And I can eat good stuff. And sugar, I try to avoid. Okay, here's an example. So powwow is here right now. We're in beautiful Eagle Butte, a beautiful reservation. And we went to powwow, and it was like once a year I always get an elephant ear, or what they call funnel cake. And I'll just have one because I've lost all this weight. I'm mindfully eating and what have you, and I ate it, and I ate it very slowly. I enjoyed
powdered sugar.
I asked. Okay, it was deep fried. There was powdered sugar, but I asked for nothing on it. Oh, I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to lose it. You know, I had to throw it away. But that's my way of justifying. I'll just take it. And I ate it, but the next day, it just like all of a sudden. It slowed me down, but only that I was hungry all the time. It was like, so I had that sugar spike. I had that, you know, and then I had to like rein it in and, you know, drink, tons of water. But I recognized it. again, it's not just going to happen overnight. You've got it's a process. And so then, and I still lost a pound, but had I listened to my body after eating that, I'd be like, okay, give me this, give me that. I'm hungry. And I was, but I wasn't acting on it, you know? And so.
What I wanted to say is,
I'm sorry. Did I get off track? I got off track.
No, it's not off track. It's very on track. Jenny bought me fry bread with walleye on it, and it's breaded.
Yeah.
And the fry bread here in Eagle Butte, or at least that vendor,
it's the vendor.
It was very thick,
and
like
dense.
a loaf of bread. It was dense and it was soft and chewy. When I was used to fry bread being more like the funnel cake,
yes,
fluffier, like a crepe or something.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not going to eat that. But the walleye was breaded. And I'm like, okay, walleye, I can trust walleye to be not full of mercury and all that kind of thing if it's locally sourced. Yeah. So, because, we're coming from the Great Lakes. Yeah. All of the lake fish are just poisoned, But here, maybe not so much. There aren't a lot of factories that are pouring out their smoke and going into the waterways.
Just the oil.
Oh, yeah, just the oil. We'll talk about that. Nonetheless, I had a little bit of a scare a couple years ago with blood sugar because I have diabetics on my father's side. And so I'm an idiot to think that I can just eat like normal people. I don't do necessarily the keto thing, but it's kind of close to it.
It is. It's, yeah.
Yeah. Just this, the idea of having a salad, it's alive vegetables, raw, they're still alive.
And this is what our mother says not to eat in the morning. Let's get some cereals and put them in a bowl. Okay, that's
it. Yeah.
So anyways.
So while I'm at the powwow, it's the opening dance and everything, I ate my little walleyes, and then I said, let me try this bread, see what it does to me. So every once in a while, you can do these kind of tests to confirm that it's not good for you, and that it does bad things by being mindful. And that's all I wanted to interject there, because I did.
It makes sense.
One of the hallmarks of diabetes or pre-diabetes is that you urinate a lot because your body's trying to get that sugar out of your bloodstream. Your cells are not accepting it anymore. They've become insulin resistant. Mm-hmm. Your cells aren't accepting it anymore, so it's floating around in your bloodstream, and your body just, you got to urinate all the time because it's trying to flush. But what that does is it dehydrates you, because you're pulling the water out of your cells in order to get that sugar out of your bloodstream. So you wake up with a dry mouth. That was my indicator that I was dehydrating myself by eating the bread. Okay? So I'm like, okay, I got a confirmation. I'm not going to do that anymore. So
I don't get it with bread.
Okay.
I love bread, but I can't eat it.
Yeah.
Because it makes me ill. It does. I mean,
it does. It makes your mind dull, doesn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not the bread that we ate when we were kids either.
Right.
It's not.
It doesn't have any fiber in it to slow down the sugar release. Yeah. So, what do you think? Let's see. Broken hearts. Broken habits.
And with fast unconscious.
Oh, right.
And,
so I just want to wind this up because
we're missing the parade, man.
Yeah, we're missing the parade.
Real quick. We're going to rodeo.
Wind this up so that we want to send you on with some ideas. Okay. Part of what I've been talking to Jenny about, and she's been giving me feedback, is this idea of a Jungian concept. It's a famous quote, is that if you don't bring the unconscious to consciousness, then you will call it destiny. I mean, it will become your destiny and you will call it fate. So what's behind that concept is that your unconscious mind is the one that's all emotional and intuitive and all that sort of thing. It knows a hell of a lot more than your conscious mind, the one that's been trained by society to think in a linear way and cause and effect and all that kind of stuff, right? We think we're making decisions based on being rational. But, studies have shown that, because, I learned how to sell things, that people make emotional decisions when they're buying something because if they're being totally rational, the way they'll do it is they'll do all the research and they'll comparison shop and you don't do that when you go to the state fair or when you go to the used car lot or the dealership. You're saying, or the fabric store, or even a mall. It's all trying to appeal to your emotional needs that you're satisfying when you're in your shopping, spending sprees, all that kind of thing. Yeah, you've got an emotional need that you're trying to fill by buying these products, and they've got to match your emotional need. Same thing with emotional eating.
Yes.
You're trying to match your emotional needs to what you're eating. Hence the Diet Pepsi and the pretzels and all that.
And I'm washing them down.
Right. And why were you drinking Diet Pepsi instead of regular Pepsi?
Because now I know there's a sweetener in it that's just
Addictive.
very addictive. That's another thing. I think this is U.S. government. Oh, run. Just turn and fucking run. Did I say fucking? Okay. Okay. Just run. And, and it might not just happen overnight. It's okay. I'm a work in progress. We all are, actually. And it took a long time for me to realize how bad it was. And I think it came to a head in Virginia, where I had turned out, every time I went to the doctor, my blood pressure was normal. Always normal. My cholesterol was like 133. It's always fine. But I got sick, and it turned out I had encephalopathy, uncontrolled hypertension induced. The doctors in the ER were like flabbergasted. It's 220 over like 110, and then it would just go down normal by itself. And over the course of 2 hours, they were like, they couldn't believe it. And with no medical intervention at all, just putting a cuff on and checking it periodically. And this is what my brain felt like someone had put saran wrap over it, and I could not absorb. This is a brand new job. I looked like a fucking idiot because I had interviewed, and it passed with beautiful flying colors because I know my job. Got there, I felt like there was saran wrap on my head, and anything they told me rolled off, including this. Okay, Jenny, on this machine, this is how you turn it on. You push this button. He said that to me. I looked at her and said, could you show me that again? It was a button that said on. I could not comprehend that. And then next thing you know, I'm in the ER. But everyone thought I was an idiot, thought I didn't know what I was doing. My confidence, because I take pride in my job. And then I immediately went back to traveling because no one would see me after my ER visit. They mismedicated me. So I've got 3 offers in one day, and I took the one in Hawaii. Yeah, you might think because it's paradise, that's why I went. No, I went because the Ahana Family Clinic said, yes, Jenny, we can get you right in. I got on an island. Within a week, I was there, diagnosed, figured it out. I was fine. But that's part of it was, too, not only were they Western medicine based, but they were also intuitive. They were very intuitive about how your body works and what my levels were, and I think they saved my life. Well, I think they could, because I know I wasn't having a stroke because it was, it was not asymmetric. It was symmetric issues I was having, and but yeah, so it was horrible.
It was Jenny's internal mind-body matrix of intelligence that was directing her actions and the actions of people around her. Okay, so your personality, your energy, your mind does not exist here. Okay, it's an energetic intelligence that surrounds you. Okay, and that's what I believe Jung was referring to, or Jung, however you want to call him. That you're unless you bring your unconsciousness to consciousness, you know, you will call it, it will be your destiny, and you will call it fate. Something else was guiding the events.
Oh yeah, they were. Not only did they take me to the island of Oahu for the next 3 months, and to the healer that I needed. Most of the little restaurants there are farm to table, and it's all organic, and that's exactly where I ate. And I lost some weight, but I was healthier than I had been in quite a while. And I'm like, so I should have just kept it. I get back and start down the Diet Cups again. Because I wasn't conscious.
You hadn't
Yeah.
brought it to consciousness
No.
in your own.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good.
It will be your destiny, and you will call it fate. Now that
I don't like that though, and so I know that.
right. So now you are being mindful about your eating,
Mhm.
and you're at this place where you
Mhm.
can get what you need.
I get what I need, and you know what? I want to stay here because it's so remote. I don't have. There's a Subway. Oh my God! Of all the fast food places to be, it's a Subway. There's a Taco Shop. I've never ate there. I'm not gonna start. But I mean, that's like it. There's no McDonald's I can run and get a quick Diet Coke at because theirs is the best in the fucking world. Because why? They put something in. I swear that it addicts you with their syrup. But anyways, I'm just one of these people that just can't have one when it comes to that. Some people can just, I'm just going to, like, some people say, it's a hot day, I'm going to crack a beer and have a beer. I can't crack a Diet Pepsi and say, I'll just have one. It's like an alcoholic going into a bar. I'll take one of everything.
Lay's potato chips.
Yeah, there we go.
Put
Schneider's,
something in the Lay's.
Schneider's pretzels, a little, snaps. Not the butter ones.
Mhm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Essentially, just to wrap this up, now that her unconscious has been raised to her consciousness and she's being mindful about what she puts in her body, she's also being mindful about the effects of things that she puts in her body.
Yes.
Right?
Funnel cake.
Funnel cake does this. Bone broth does this.
Oh, bone broth.
Yeah, right? So she's being mindful. She's being conscious of the things that are happening in her mind-body matrix. Okay? She's open to those signals. She's willing to hear and not only receive the message, but process the message so that it's her destiny to come to this place in her life where now that she's paying attention to herself instead of her dependent daughter, being a single mother for 25 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. My
But
child has my priority as far as my money, my food, my shelter, my
always.
education, right? Now she's in the center.
I know that people say, "Oh, you made such a sacrifice." And I didn't make a sacrifice. She was my daughter. She's mine. She was my choice. It's not a sacrifice. Never think that. Never, ever, ever. If you're a mom, think it's a sacrifice. It's a blessing. It really is. If you choose, I chose.
So now
Chose her.
it's her inner child that she's taking care of, not her outer child,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yes. Yes.
she, is calling in her resources, and one of them is me.
Yeah, and she just called. I mean, it's weird. We're like, Darlene calls up as, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool, sure." He's like, "Okay, groovy, 8 hours."
Yeah. So this is, I want to come back full circle because I talked about the circle of influence and
Yep.
women being at the center,
Mm-hmm.
being the astrologer that I am, and it comes to me naturally. All right.
Oh my God.
I was mentioning to Jenny, I don't know if it was maybe middle of July or sometime, that there was this phenomenon where a asteroid, which has become more, these asteroids
Broke off.
have more prominence in the astrological world than the actual planets that we're used to, Jupiter and Mars and all that stuff. Now we have these planetoids. One of the ones that has become important to me is the Chiron. That's a planetoid, but I don't want to get into that now. Is Vesta.
Oh yeah, that's a,
Right. So Vesta has returned under the arm of Saturn, her father, in that pantheon, the way of understanding it. But if you understand that Saturn represents the taskmaster, the schoolmaster, the limiter, the one that pounds something into your head, or even corrals you physically to get back into the schoolroom.
oh, I thought he was the father.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
fathers do, right?
Oh,
Yeah. Isn't it the father that puts the hammer down and says, this is going to stop, or this is going to start?
yes.
Vesta is his daughter, and Vesta is the most primordial goddess. It's the goddess of the hearth. Okay? The goddess of the hearth is represented by that fire of, the center of the home is where things get cooked. It's where we get our warmth. It's where we do our dishes. It's where we get our cleanliness and our health, is where that central fire is. Our ancient ancestors, everybody, and it happens to this day, the kitchen is the social networking.
I'm smiling because when my daughter was very little and we were first divorced, she was very confused, and I didn't even realize at the time. Calmed her down, and I said, I'm not going anywhere. I said, this is what my job is. My job is to make sure there's a roof over your head, that there's food in your stomach, that you are loved. And I'm just listening to her. That's exactly what I told her. That's exactly what I told her. Said, okay. And whenever she felt that, because her father was seeing another woman, which is expected, and she would be worried, as kids do. And I would just say, take a deep breath. What is my job? And I make her repeat it to me. Yes, you are loved. You are saved. Don't worry. So yes, we rule, we women.
We rule the home.
Oh, we can rule with men too. Even they need to be at our side if they're going to be anywhere.
Right,
Not up front, not above, not around. No, next.
So ancient societies, and in some contemporary traditional societies, are organized in that same way. It's the women who determine the roles in society, because it all depends on making sure that their dependents are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Because children come out of women's bodies, women have to learn how to heal their own wounds from childbirth. You have that placenta pulling away from the side of the uterus. It actually leaves a scar.
Yes.
So you have to learn how to heal that wound. And then you have to learn how to heal your child's wound by cutting the cord where that belly button is formed. You have to make sure it's clean. You have to, and in some traditional societies, they actually consume the placenta, right? To heal the mother. Yeah, right? So our bodies are what have kept society together. Us learning and knowing about our bodies and how they work, that's what's kept society together. And our society has become so fragmented because women's bodies have become fragmented. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So
Totally.
this is just like the first installment for us to be able to kibitz around the dining area, the kitchen. So we can talk about these kinds of ways of restoring not only our way of nurturing ourselves, but nurturing the people that we love, and making sure that they're safe and cared for, and that they've got the medicine that they need, they got the healing, they got the proper diet, so that they can go forth and defend the hearth for us. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.